Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another thing. Let me just look for the volume control on this crazy. There we go. Welcome to another DM's desk, where we are going to have a chat with TallSquall, Chelsea, and Alice about DMing. Now, today, guys, you might see that our donations at the bottom. We have a Race Texas donation fund. I'm not sure exactly how much we're going to go for today, but every £100 we donate, we raise, we are going to do maybe like a viewer decision or something. That sounds cool. I'll turn that down just a little bit more. I think it's still a little bit loud. We'll see how it is with the guys. But hey, let's, without much further ado, let's go and get them, shall we? Good morning, you guys. You are live. Well, fading in, but hello.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah. So, hi everyone.
We are here.
Why don't we introduce ourselves and our coffees?
Oh, okay. I'm game for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go for it. I mean, we're not playing like a game here. We don't have to go in order.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay, I'm Chelsea. Hey, gang, I'm Chelsea. You may know me as Little Red Dot. I'm currently drinking this sweet-ass cup of Vietnamese coffee my friend brought me back from Vietnam.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep. It's cool. We're going to chat, and then I'm going to go to sleep when this is all done. Cheers.
Hey, I'm TallSquall. I am drinking some Costa Rican mixed with hazelnut. I've been having coffee machine drama. I am in the process of I know, right? It's like the saddest thing ever. I'm having coffee machine drama. It is a long saga. It is its like own DnD campaign of me getting a new coffee machine. But it is better now. I'm still on my old brewer, and I will eventually, hopefully, like tomorrow, have my new coffee machine. If of all things, it's the old type little steam powered cappuccino machines, like $35 that you can get like in Walmart. Apparently they don't sell those anymore. They don't sell those anymore, not though in like the configuration that like works in my kitchen, like where it needs to go. And so and apparently you can actually get the old Krug ones, Krugg, not Krug, but Krug ones. But, they're like now collector's items apparently. And my little, what used to be like a $45 little coffee machine is like you can get on Amazon as a collector's item for $430. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like totally freaked out. But like I said, I'm not going to tell you at all about my coffee machine drama. And there I go. Welcome to DM's desk. We are on the quest for TallSquall.
We are.
You meet in a coffee shop.
It's not the quest we knew we wanted, but it's the quest we need.
Okay, then I guess I'm Alice. I am drinking neither Korean coffee or any form of nice coffee, just bog standard coffee. I also don't have a coffee machine, but I do have a kettle that's on the blink. So hopefully we do still get to have coffee. But I like my coffee nonetheless. But yeah.
So,
Kettle on the blink is kind of scary. That's another scary thing, especially for English people.
It means, I was going to say, this means I could have no tea or coffee.
See, now, I think it's exciting because Alice hasn't let me for a long time build the jettle.
No, we're not building another jettle because what happened to Jennifer's jettle?
Yeah, it broke a little bit.
At 3 a.m. it exploded.
Hell is it?
No,
Can
I'm
I
not
be
having
American right now and ask what the hell a jettle
Yeah,
is?
what's the jettle?
Okay,
Oh
so
no, it's his own creation.
it's not mine. It's not mine. I can't claim fame. Colin
I
Furs.
see.
Colin Furs did it first on YouTube. Colin Furs basically he put a pulse jet in a kettle to see how quickly he could boil water, and it turns out he can do it in about 25 seconds. So now I really want to put a pulse jet in a kettle and build a jettle.
This is like the toaster knife all over again.
I've
You
not
still
finished that
haven't
yet.
done
I
that.
need to finish that off.
Oh my god. Yeah, that sounds like an insurance policy. Like, I hope you have good insurance. Yeah.
The real thing that needs to happen is I need to make sure you never talk to my buddy Nick about that. you will have a jettle, and I will have a jettle.
We'll all have jettles.
The fear is that he does do these things. He will create these things, and they will work. It's the destruction that goes on in the process. Like when he made our wedding rings, you set yourself on fire.
No, that was the barbecue. That was the barbecue.
Okay,
that
when you
set
made the
myself on fire.
barbecue.
Yes.
You did something when you made our wedding ring.
Yeah, I was angle grinding the finish, and there were sparks flying everywhere, and I was wearing one of them like cotton lumberjack shirts.
Oh yeah.
Woo!
yeah, go up. I had one burn through. I was welding one time a set for a company out in New Jersey, and I had that happen. And the set was huge, and we were welding this big like pivot piece for the set, so the whole thing spun. But we had to grease it with this like thick, disgusting, like purple lubricant, and it was like all over my hands and stuff. And I walked past the welding rig and like started up, and it was like on me, and the bottom of this like frayed lumberjack tee just went and like pinged holes through it. I was like, oh my god! Like,
they burn so quick, don't they?
It went like straight up with that welding where like it was stupid how fast it went up.
We have very thin walls. I could hear everything, like his little high-pitched scream, and I was like, oh god, what's he done now? Like run downstairs. Still alive in there.
So this is actually why we play D&D, because clearly we're incapable
it's
of
safer.
doing anything else.
Yeah.
Much safer.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'll have to at some point. I'll have to show you where my buddy Nick with welding welded me up, like a dice set of Christmas ornaments.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, I love the
That
sound
does
of that.
sound
Like a
cool.
polyhedral like dice set for your tree?
Yes. And they're like he made them out of different metals, like like there's steel ones, there's copper ones, there's that he did for me I know, right? I cried. I cried.
Oh my god!
Oh, like, just
I
take
would.
my money.
Yeah, take it. Does he do orders? Ship?
Literally, if it weren't for the fact that I think it literally took him like all the way from like Thanksgiving to Christmas to like find the patterns and do it. I was like, dude, if you could sell the hell out of it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm one obsessed with D&D and fairy lights. Like that combination for me is. Oh.
I feel like
Yeah.
a Christmas tree is actually an Alice.
I've got one of his prototypes like sitting on my over here. I'll be right back.
Oh damn! Okay, cool.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, when it comes to Christmas, one, for my photography reasons, and two, just my obsessive reasons, I love fairy lights and things just like, it's so magical.
Yeah, I just put a canopy over my bed yesterday. It like just came in, so I finally got it all together, and I think I'm gonna string lights from it. I'm really excited. Like over the big canopy, I'm gonna put lights in it. Yeah,
I have them on my bed at my parents'.
Should we welcome chat a little bit? Like, so we've
Yeah,
got
hi,
Earthing
chat.
Lady in here.
We're
We've
not
got
ignoring
Rom, Ishman.
that.
Good morning, you guys. If you guys want to throw
Hey,
any
gang.
questions at us, help yourselves.
yeah. Because
Um,
if you don't, we're just gonna talk about all of our like life problems. yeah, it's gonna become kind of awkward fast.
Good morning, Templar Warden. I know your actual name. It's in my. I'm not very good with names, but it's in my. I know your face because you're from the Vice, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have ears here in a second.
I'm the worst. I am the worst with names. Lord Conti Boron.
I love how much Bora has taken over. Like, it's ridiculous.
So Bora was a character I made for the Honey Heist game we did on the last Academy.
Oh, yep.
And
It
I
was
did it
ridiculous.
with Tia and Josh and that, and it was just, we were playing Honey Heist, and I was just a bear called Bora that pretty much only really said Bora.
The best one for me was that you were all shocked when Josh turned out to be the bad guy, and I was like,
Why are we ever shocked?
That's
But
standard.
one, I was like, it's Josh.
Yeah.
Two, he was blaming everyone else. And three, he was playing a Russian. He was playing a sneaky Russian. So those three combined,
Russian
he,
man.
he wanted to
Yeah.
play like a Russian gangster. And I was like,
Morning, Kim. Morning, Geeky.
Oh, This is like
That's
before that he
so
finishes them, but he
beautiful.
like even say because it's the cool how he the actual
The
ornament.
burn, yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
left on, but I mean the actual ornaments he ground all the welds and stuff, but you kept with the heat marks on them.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh,
A new obsession is coming.
I know.
Oh.
Damn, that's cool.
I've got hot flushes. I mean, that could just be the heat, but I've got hot flushes.
I'm sorry. That's a really nice dice you got
Yeah.
there. Is that what you're trying to say, Scrat?
Find myself likely.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about what we're doing today, guys. Today we are raising money for the kids down on the border who are being separated from their parents, which is a bit of a travesty, frankly. So that's what this whole like 25-hour thing is going towards. I've put a donation goal of £100 at the bottom of the screen. That is not our final goal, but I think every £100 we'll do like I don't know, a something. We'll do a viewer decision or something just to keep it interesting. Yeah. So that's what all of this 24-hour is going to be in aid of this week. I know I don't often do charity things, but this week we're doing a charity thing because this one, I feel strongly about this one, you know. But yeah, maybe we should talk about D&D possibly. I mean, we don't have to.
Yes, I can do that.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, hey, lady. Yeah, we can do that. I mean, D&D, it's a thing. We all play it.
Yeah, there's these dice, and
roll them.
I actually had a really interesting session last night. I was playing. I played 4 p.m. last night. We just played 2d6. We made it all up entirely on the fly. It worked really, really well. Like
just an impromptu, like completely made up system game.
Well, no, it wasn't. It was like heavily based on Powered by the Apocalypse.
Okay.
Sort of like the City of Mist style, but we didn't play with City of Mist rules. We just sort of well, do you feel like this person would be able to do this? Like, yeah, I think they'd be pretty good at it. Oh, okay, have a +1. You know. Like,
yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, it worked really, really well.
The other game I loved playing yesterday, and that was Conan on Greg's. It was just so good. Like, I was worried at the beginning because like the character sheet just looks so confusing and it's just full of things, and then by the end of it I was just like I can't wait till next Friday already.
It's funny actually. I ended up doing like my own dice set rules for a mechanism in Thursday's viewer game last week on Will's channel. And I think like there's occasionally as DMs where this like happens. It does. Like your characters want to gamble in a game. Or they go into, there's 1,000 options why there might need to be a small game. Maybe they're a hustler. So sometimes you have to like come up with small games on the fly. And the one on Thursday was actually more of a death mechanism. But they were basically going through the scenario of the short story, The Lottery, where they were all standing in like a group. And so it started out with 100 people. And every time she died, it like reset. Somebody died. And so they had to roll to see if they pulled the black dot. That of course means that they got stoned to death. So we did a D100, and every time it repeated, we went down once. Then it was like a D99 and a D98. So we got closer and closer. And they had to meet my roll. So if they matched my roll, they had pulled the dot. So there was this like ongoing mechanism of them like, oh, wait, what? A D98? No, it's getting smaller. No, just like the panic that set in. But yeah, I mean, I think that's something as a DM, like sometimes you just make up a system, especially if you
improvise,
yeah, and make it fun for your characters, because I think sometimes a simple D20 and adding stats it can get boring. And there are lots of ways to like add dice as random means of chance and fate and stuff.
Thank you very much, TallSquall, for getting us started on our donation train. A £25 donation. Yeah, so since the last DM's desk, we did for the last academy, or maybe the academy before the last academy. Time all blends into one.
It's all one now.
Yeah. We played a game of Jumanji, which was based on the D20 system.
Oh, that's cool.
But
that was funny.
But I put a game inside the game. I put Jumanji in the game, which was a 2d6 game. And basically my rules were that they had to roll 2d6 and see what happened. And of course, just like Jumanji, every time they rolled, monsters appeared to attack them, or the ground opened up to try and eat them, or the jungle appeared, and all of this sort of thing.
Wow.
But I predetermined before we went that I wanted them to roll every possible, like, total on a 2d6. So, like, from 2 to 12. And by the end of the game, people were literally, when they realized this is what they needed to do to stop all this stuff happening, by the time like 60 ninja pandas had appeared and the ground was opening up beneath them and ice was raining on them. And
now. I never thought I'd hate a panda, but I hate pandas.
But like literally, they were all in combat, and just like by the end of it, they were completely just like foregoing combat to go like, no, you roll the dice, just roll it. We need to get out of this.
It was like frantic, like We've got the sequel to that on Monday, I think, haven't we?
Oh, that's fun.
Yes. Yeah. Alice is taking over the DM seat. Ooh.
Yeah, I was going to say that'll be It feels, I have to say, because I finished my campaign, was it not last week before, something like that, and it feels so empty now. I'm not running a campaign in the week, and I'm like, what do you do with your time? I don't know.
Hey, that's an important thing too. It's like once you complete a campaign and there's that empty slot, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
like
the ending was good. I was pleased with the ending, and I think the players made 2 of them cry, so boom. But in happy tears, I want to say happy tears. But yeah, now I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do. Obviously, I've got projects being planned, but I'm not physically playing. So I mean, I'm running one-shots on the Mondays at the moment, but
until the 16th when we start our new City of Mist campaign.
I'm so excited. so excited.
I've got to get my brain wrapped around City of Mist. I admit it. It's just
I don't get it either.
It's the over planning spreadsheet engineer DM in me. It's like, where are the numbers?
Whereas I'm like, thank God there's no
Me too. You know what? It's funny. It's actually why I played my first. I told you guys I played my first round of Fate last night, and it is really refreshing to know that your roll will probably never go over 10. Like, it's just like a very simple system. Like the Fate dice. Like,
tears just roll down TallSquall's face.
Like, I love it. It's so, like, they use these cool things called Fate die, and they have just like pluses or minuses on them. Each side represents 1, or the blank side represents 0, and you just like quick add your numbers, and then they have this really great system that's like legendary to poor or something like that. So it's just a really simple system. I think it's a little less daunting than like giant algorithms where you're adding from like proficiency and skill and which is satisfying, but for new people it can be super daunting. I've had so many people say that like one of their barriers to joining D&D is always the like, oh, I gotta do math.
Yeah.
Like Roll20 saves my life.
I was just about to say the same thing. Roll20 has been such a big step.
I've got Roll20, but my maths is so bad. Like, no matter how hard I worked at school, I had extra lessons, everything, and I still just scraped. And as Adam will know, numbers are so daunting to me. Like, I can stare at them for ages. His whole family are super quick. They're like, oh yeah, that's this, and I'm there like, okay, don't make a scene. Like, what is happening?
Family grew up playing darts and stuff, so they've got that quick darts.
That like fast math.
Arithmetic game.
Yeah, throwing me into that when they're like aggressively playing Monopoly, I'm like,
oh my god,
like, aggressive Monopoly.
Oh no game of Monopoly ever ends with a happy resolution. Like, if someone's not swallowed a hotel and the board hasn't been smashed across someone's head, it's not a fun game of Monopoly. You know,
unless the family is falling apart. Yeah, it's not a legit game.
Oh, there have been like week-long arguments over a game of Monopoly in my household. We take that shit serious.
My whole household don't argue at all or get like that, and I went into scraps and I was like, oh my god, like I go hide with the dog in the conservatory. I was like, I can't take this, like rocking in the corner. I was like, this is just a game, it's Monopoly.
Funny. Yeah, we had to stop playing Risk. Like, we had to sell our Risk board game in my house because it got like, we played a couple games and it's the same thing, like table flipping, like just anger, and of course my mom was like, no more of this. Get rid of it. She's like, I'm over it. So
I've never played Risk. I've never played Risk.
Oh
ever.
Lord! You want to talk about? Well, if your poor heart can't handle angry Monopoly.
No. I can play Monopoly. I can't play Monopoly with him. I play Monopoly.
Yeah, it's so
just
true.
To clarify.
Like, Alice, look, I'll give you every single property on the board, including Park Lane, for Mayfair. No.
It's the principle.
What can I do here?
Principle. I will not give you Mayfair.
Roller 300 says, I think the Blades in the Dark had a simple number system, then it focused more on story, but you just do checks. Sounds
okay.
Have you guys played Blades in the Dark? I have not played Blades in the Dark.
No, I've not, and they were actually talking about it last night. Mythmatic was saying how kind of similar it is to, like, Fate is to Blades in the Dark, or the way that Fate games are set up, and that, it's not heavily number crunch. You mentioned that, but I've never actually played it.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, no. So we will see. We will see if we will watch my anxiety spike as I have no.
I promise you, though, to score. It's literally one of them games that's at first intimidating to learn. I think you've got to have a certain type of brain, because I had exactly the same thing with the core rulebook when I was reading it. I'm very maths-based as well, like you. And I was just having total anxiety about it as well. I was like, because I play on Thursdays with Metamancer, and I was like messaging Metamancer every day, like, but what about this? I'm just not sure about this. Like every day. But once you play your first game, oh, that's easy. You know,
I was gonna
like
say, I learn by playing, so I'm sort of in that mindset going, I'm not going to know what's happening until the first game. I just no, I'm
I'm
not
just never gonna know.
process it. I'm not going to be able to process it. That's just not how my brain works. So
Yeah.
like it's the same sort of reason that I can't read PDFs really very well at all. I really struggle to read off of a screen. It doesn't go in. So I have to physically have, I mean, I was told it was part of my dyslexia. So I always make a thing. I have to either print out a PDF or have the book. And when I think it was for Warhammer, I got sent the PDF, and one, it's too big to print off. And two, just reading it, I was like, oh my God. I was absolutely traumatized trying to set up a character for Warhammer. And I'm actually terrified of Jim like killing off my character or something, or one of the others probably will killing my character, because I'm like, I can't face that PDF again. I don't know how. I still don't know. I can't do it again. Like I'll have to be like, Jim, help me.
Like the stakes are high.
Yeah, no, I must survive.
Stakes are too high here.
That's why I made like a badass, because I'm like, she has to survive this, because I can't survive that PDF again. So
constantly looking for more plot armor.
Exactly. But
World and
Well, but you know, that's a good, you know, we've all talked about, you know, player anxiety. Let's talk about as a DM, what's the best ways to help a player get through, you know, when you see them. And for us, for D&D, we're just like, whatever. And just, but the, you know, what we all just described with a new system, just because it doesn't necessarily fall in our thing, you know, how can we as DMs or help other DMs out there when they have a new set of players, or people who are resistant to giving it a shot because they're intimidated, to sort of bring them into the fold?
I think, like, for me personally, I would, obviously just take your time with it. Like what Greg did yesterday. We did the premiere of Conan, and he's like, right. And he said to everyone who was watching the stream, we're going to take this real slow. This is a brand new system to you guys. It's brand new to them. So we're going to take this one step at a time. I'll effectively walk you through it. And then the other thing that I find really helps is not streaming. Set up a Zoom chat like this and play like half an hour just of the game, like we did almost with the Cypher system.
Oh yeah,
that really
play
helps.
through it. That helps
really
me so much, because like I said, I learn by play, and it gave me a lot more confidence going into the actual live stream.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're live, it's okay to look at your audience. I mean, that's what I did yesterday when we started with the bait system. I was like, "Hey, everybody, thanks for being here. We're all new to this, you know. Like when we're taking this, I hadn't even, when we went into last night's game, I had not even explained combat to the characters or to the players. We went into that game with them out completely understanding it. And my plan was to explain it live so that the audience and the players are on the same page, that there's not that need of like expectation that they need to know what they're doing. And I think that's true too, that with any tabletop RPG, the books can be really daunting to some people. The amount of information. I remember when I first started in D&D when it was 3.5, I felt that way. I was like, where do I start? Like, how do I get started? And I think we need to, as a DM, if you're really wanting to fill your table and you want to invite new people, part of it is recognizing that and explaining to them that you don't have to know all the book stuff. Let me help you. There are resources, especially nowadays. Some people are easier to go online. D&D Beyond is world shattering. Send them through the character building process, not going through a book and on a piece of paper. Go do it online. It is a resource that is incredible. And it helps, in my opinion, the way they've got it laid out can really help somebody understand how character is built through Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, that's a new thing as well. The whole character mancer thing in Roll20. What do we think of
Yes.
that?
I actually haven't tried it yet.
I haven't tried it yet.
I did.
I think it's good, but I think it's let down in that it's not got enough compendium. Like,
Thank you.
Still, there's only one background.
Oh,
And I got really annoyed as well when I got to the end of the character mentor, and I was like, well, I don't want to be an acolyte, so I'll just leave background blank. And I get to the end, and it's like, you haven't selected a background. I'm like, well,
Yeah. Now you can manually fill in a background. Like you can choose like another option and then fill it in. It just means that you have to have like one of the books to be able to fill your background in.
Yeah.
But it's actually really cool. So basically, like the actual character sheet layout's not changed. If you guys haven't seen the new Roll20, but very similar to D&D Beyond, it does like a step-by-step next process, like down the character sheet as you fill things in. It even this time has a drop-down option for selecting your spells. So after you select your class, it's like, okay, cantrips, and you get to drop down select, just like you do in D&D Beyond. And then you basically like finish the character sheet, and it processes everything and drops it into the Roll20 character sheet as you probably know it. It's actually pretty handy, I think, and is a lot less daunting than just being like, here's a blank character sheet, have fun. You know,
it unlocks as well some like some extra features that I didn't even know existed. Like I didn't know there was a global damage modifier for rage. I still don't know how to make it, but I know that if I make a barbarian through character mentor, I'll make it. You know, like
it took me a while to realize all the Roll20 actually is very powerful. Actually, in some ways, and I've not done the character mancer, but in some ways more powerful than D&D Beyond, because you can open up that cogwheel and put things in. Whereas in D&D Beyond, there's a lot of stuff that is locked based off of math that you can't override or is very difficult to override. That would be my only complaint about D&D Beyond. You know, I like my Trollkin for Midgard. I wanted to track him in D&D Beyond. I literally had to build the Trollkin racial class, racial homebrew, in order to actually make it so that it would work, so that I could make my sheet reflect what he really was, which was good because I learned how to use the homebrew builder there. But it also was, okay, I need this in an hour, and suddenly it was like, well, I guess I'll have to have it for next week, because it doesn't. If I could have just gone in and been able to literally type in a race instead of having to go and build a race to select.
Yeah.
That's my only complaint with D&D Beyond. There should be a true global override, and even if they make you like all but PDF the sheet and global override it that way. No, I love D&D Beyond. It's the best investment I ever made by getting the that whatever it is.
You got the big full package.
Yeah, I mean, because I got it when it first came out. And here's the big thing for everyone out there, because it is a big chunk of change on day one. I would tell you over at least the payback is great, because when you have that, you get 20% off of any book that comes out later that can also be used with on top, can be combined with any coupons. So
they'll stack.
They stack. It's a stacking one, and it is not limited by a single use, that you can only have one or the other. When you have that, it is like one of their only stacking coupons. And so, like, since I got it all the way like my Mordenkainen's and my my Xanthars, when they came out, I used the Critical Role coupon with the 20% thing, because the Critical Role is a flat $1 off. I think I got both of them new on day of release for like $19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Because of the stacking discounts. So I mean, knowing that there's a lot more books coming, and that they're putting out more books faster and faster, going ahead and buying into it is not a bad thing. The other one is, and I think all of you guys know, because I think I've shared with you guys, if you let people, you're allowed to have 3 campaigns that you run, each that can have 12 people in. And if you invite them to the campaign, they have full access to all of your books, just as though you walked over to their house with a book bag full of books. And so your whole party everyone doesn't have to buy every book. It also works that if you have half of them and then someone else has the other half of them, that campaign combined has everything.
Oh, awesome. I didn't realize
that. So that's the thing is that you can have your D&D group, everyone takes turns buying a book to put in their D&D Beyond. And as long as you are in that campaign in D&D Beyond, it's like showing up at someone's house and everyone brings their books to the house.
Nice.
Yeah.
The other thing about D&D Beyond, which I really, really like, this is probably from a different sort of angle, is that it made me try new races, because the book that Scrat and I had was all I knew. I didn't have anything else, and I was too scared because, like I said, I can't process certain bits of information very well off the screen. So I never branched out to try something new. And then when I was shown D&D Beyond, now when I'm about to do a one shot or a campaign, I'm like, oh, it's fine, I'll go on there, I'll have a look what there is, and it's all laid out super easy, and archetypes and everything, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is easy, all the tables are laid out and everything. So
I actually like D&D Beyond too, because they put up a lot of Wizards playtest material for free. So like the two of the new playtest build outs, like the Circle of the Spore, and I feel like there's like a fighter one, I can't remember. Order, that's it. Yeah, that's available, and I think that's really cool too, because playtest material is, in my opinion, especially the stuff that they're actually considering potentially for books in the future, is just, it's cool to have it. And I let my players use it. If it's available on D&D Beyond, then you can use it in my campaigns. And you know, I was kind of reading through chat. You know, there are a lot of people that's like, I really just don't like D&D Beyond's layout, and I think you have to remember that if you've been doing it for a really long time and you have a really good handle on the books and the understanding of structure and RPG games, it's really easy oftentimes for you to like pick open a book and like quick flip through it. I was finding that when I was trying to pick up Fate System, I was like, I knew exactly the sections I needed to read going through because I've done this for years. But a lot of people that are new to it, there is a barrier sometimes to entry of a game, and something like D&D Beyond can be a really great tool to help people overcome a lot of that fear, because it is as simple as like hit a next button, right? And just fill in the information. And in Will's was saying, he's had a really good point, though I don't think they can hear us, which I thought was great. This idea of like, what questions could you either ask your character or even prompt people with before they ever fill in stats, which I think is also something really cool too. Like when you guys were building Scrap for the Fate System, the first thing I told you was like, think about who you were.
This is something that
we do it, don't we?
has said in chat as well. He was saying about the character mancer. He'd like to see some standard questions being part of the process before the sheet even opens. Just to encourage people to think about the character.
Exactly. And you can actually do that as a DM. I think that's what Wizards was trying to do with the flaws and the bonds with the new 5e system. I think that's what they wanted. And they actually, they talk about that based on your background, but I encourage my characters to think, like, instead of going to a table and like choosing something, to think about it, like, what makes your character a flawed? Everybody's flawed. What makes them flawed? And sometimes I prompt people filling those in long before we roll dice, and we try to pick those things. It helps shape them before we have to start going into tables and dice rolling and characters and classes and stats. So that, you could, and Will's, I think you're right. If you wanted to prompt through D&D, maybe the flaws and bonds and that list of 4 there is the option for doing that.
That was one thing that was really good with Warhammer, though, wasn't it, Alice? That list of questions that you had to answer about...
Yeah, no, that was really, really good. I mean, there's tables if you wanted to pick just a bunch, but at the same time, if they had a long list of questions that ask yourself this, where have they come from, what was how was their relationship with their siblings or their parents, or what made them like, so you pick like a class, and I think I think my first one was a pit fighter, and it then said what made you become a pit fighter, and then why did you move on to my second class, which was bounty hunter. So
interesting.
And then like I now when I run a one shot, because I think so many people sometimes who are in campaigns, they almost make a character for a one shot as like a throwaway character, because they know they're only going to be there for one. So when Scrap puts a chat together for everyone I'm going to be DMing, I'm like, I need the answers to these questions, like, what are they scared of? What is their long-term goal? What is their, and I just give them a list, and then it helps them to think and structure it out. And then they become more attached to the character, which obviously helps
gameplay. Yeah.
One shot.
Takes us right back to your point, TallSquall, earlier about what do you do to make characters relax. I ask them so many questions about their character. Like, just put I try and put the focus on the character and who they are in the role play, and just
not the stats.
the rules, we'll figure those out. Like, Yeah.
I had an interesting one because I had two new players who just kind of wanted to know what was going on. Because over use your words. Over 4th of July cookout, we had some people who had heard us talking about D&D or were interested in it. So I brought over my Surface and D&D Beyond, and we made up some characters, and it was interesting. The girl, the girl who was doing it, she's a teacher, and was the one who was sort of tenuous about it. And the first thing she does when she sits down, and it was like one of those. I was like, okay, I need to handle this to steer this person in the right direction. First is what do I need to make so I can win? That was her first question. I'm like, okay, first let's just start off with you don't win D&D.
You don't win D&D. It's not that kind of game.
But it was, I mean, literally that her first mindset was the how do I min-max this?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I think that's a misconception about gaming too.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Games are a
It
win or
comes
lose.
from the video game community. That's literally what they are. Like,
Yeah.
even roleplay games.
Yeah, and so that like let me just completely let's erase that out. There is no winning in D&D. This is about playing something that interests you, something that's going to be fun for you, and then it was interesting. And I know there's lots of homebrew out there, but I can tell you. So I'll throw this back at my buddies out there at Wizards. Make a pretty class with wings. I was like, well, there's Asimar. You can do it. I don't want to be this thing with horns. I want to be something pretty with wings. I'm like, well, you can be an Eric. I don't want to be a bird.
So isn't there an angel class? Am I making that up in my brain?
No, there is. I mean, there's Asimar, but they don't have wings all the time. Tiefling. Right. She was like, so I can have that who can have wings for 1 minute, or I have to be a devil to have them all the time. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Make a pretty little class.
Yeah.
A race that has wings.
I feel like wasn't there like Sky Elf at one point? Was that 3.5 where there was like a Sky Elf race or something like that? And I believe that they had
wings.
There
you go.
They had wings, yeah.
Back to 3.5 player pixie. There we go.
Pull a pixie, yeah.
Well, that was she wanted to play. She wanted to play a pixie, and I'm like,
oh,
I don't have that
in Fae,
yeah. Give me a Fae
build.
Give me a little pretty girl with wings.
Yeah. See, I think like I played a halfling all the way through, like all in my IRL games until I started streaming. Mainly Scrat's fault, but because he was very much, you are a halfling in real life, play a halfling in the campaign, just try it. And
your first campaign to get used to it. That's what I suggested.
So I played like a halfling barbarian, and we were laughing the other day. I don't know if have you seen those? What are they? The personality tests for like the workplaces and stuff like
tell you what sort of like INTJENS.
Oh
yeah, all that stuff. Well, Alice did one.
And it says who else is this type, and Frodo Baggins came up, so that made like Scrat was like, see, you're a halfling. So yeah, halfling is my favorite race, I feel. Stick to it.
Yeah, those are interesting then, personality test things.
Yeah, they are.
Over the years, it's funny, I will tell you, being the old guy in the group, it's funny watching how it changes over the years.
Yeah. Oh, I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah.
I took one recently. It's been the best one I've ever taken. It's actually this one right here. I live and die by this book. It's changed my entire life. It's called Strength Finder. I suggest everybody buy this book, and you have to buy the book if you want to take the test, because they give you a code in the book. Like you get an envelope in the back, you have to like open. But instead of being like, well, you're an STNJ or whatever, it helps identify your top 10 like strengths as a human. Based on like all this research he's done for like 30 years or whatever. And literally it pulled my list and I was like, I'm not those things. And I flipped through and I was like, let me read this. And I was like, oh my God, this is me on a page. You're like, well, who studied me? But there's a like way to relate. And at the end, after you've identified your strengths, it gives you really cool like a to-do list of these things that you can do to like play into your strength and have a happier life. And I've tabbed it. I live and die by this book. I love it, love it, love it.
So,
We did it.
Yeah, my sister, she trains people how to train people and build teams. So she does this all the time. And when I was like 15, I went and did work experience with her, and she was like, "Well, the first thing we're going to need you to do is do this insights test," which was the big thing at the time, and it gives you a readout on what sort of person you are based on the colors and sort of thing. And like, here I am now at 28, and I can still give that document to employers because it 100% still describes me. At the time when I was a teenager, I was like, I'm not like that. But like, as I've grown, I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah, we were going through it, and Scrat and I are complete opposites. Like, complete parallel. There's some things where we relate, but otherwise we are completely parallel on the way we think.
Yeah.
And deal with things.
For me, Scrat, this one was all about like jobs. As I started to write, like, you know, letters and things like that, and trying to talk about my skill set, because they tell you don't repeat your resume to your cover letter. Like, that's not what a cover letter's for. It's about talking about your strengths. And because this one I like identified mine, you know, like I'm a futurist thinker, I'm a big thinker, and I'm a strategizer. Like, those are the two things that I do, which makes sense that I'm in project management. So, you know, being able to like have vocabulary, they even like give you vocabulary and things to be able to talk about yourself. So it's not so much about like categorizing you as it is, it's trying to like pinpoint these things that you're awesome at. And then you even can go to the Strength Finder website and run your top 5 against the rest of the world's top 5 and see what you are in terms of percentage of people like you. There's like 1 in every 20,000 people that have my strengths, which I was like, well, hot dog, I feel I feel special now, you know?
And so so with this as well, we've all obviously got experience with like these personality profiling things. Have you guys, I know I have you guys ever used these personality profile tests to build a character?
I will be.
I'm afraid I'm gonna hate D&D Chelsea. Like, I would really like, I'm afraid that I would really like, that's the kind of character I don't want to play in D&D, because I'm like, I don't want a character that's a strategizer and, you know, OCD AF. You know, this is not, but yeah.
Are you muted to school? No?
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, no, I had the mic because I was typing. But I was gonna say, you Chelsea's like, I won't play it. It's like, have you met Gavin? Yeah. I mean, but to build a character off of a different profile than myself, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
What I've done
profile, you know, basically like spin the wheel of
just all switch up profiles. Here, you try
and then be like, I need to build I can't even remember all the different one. Like,
I can't remember what I was now.
I'm INJTJ, something like that.
I think I'm ENTJ.
Is me.
I think I'm ENTJ.
I don't.
It's been years. I couldn't even.
I was gonna say, you were saying, Prax, about extroverts or introverts. I always come up as introvert. Always.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, people probably don't realize that with me being a streamer and stuff, but yeah, no, I'm a big time. Shut the doors, close the drapes.
Yep.
I have to I have to recharge after streaming. You know, I know a lot of people get, I mean, like, you know, the Wills of the world, who just, you know, can be their bread and butter, can exist off streaming. After I stream, it's like, okay,
I'm gonna go crash now. Yeah. I did that. I'm a massive introvert, apparently. So.
The last test I did, I came out as 97% extroverted.
Yeah.
Let me put on my shocked face.
But that's one of the things we really found funny, was comparing the percentages between Scrat and I, because there was one that we still don't really understand on mine, and it says, where is it? I am 96% turbulent, and I still don't know what that means, and I'm slightly worried about it as well. It's 96%. That is a lot.
Turbulent energy to reach it.
Like, I don't know. That's a lot of percent. Like, that's not just a little bit of it, but yeah.
So what I did, I've done 2 characters that I based on my own personality test, but what I did was I took all the negatives and put them into one character to try and create an evil character, and took all my positives and put them into a character to try and make a happy character. And they became Fergus and Dr. Shaw.
Dr. Shaw, yeah.
And we corrupted the fuck out of Fergus.
We did, but it was beautiful because it wasn't like I'd corrupted him. It was like some sort of weird mesh between my good points and just picking up all of Will's bad points.
I don't think I've ever made a character based off of.
I haven't either. I guess maybe I should do that. Maybe I'll make a Little Red Dot. There's this great image I love. I have it on one of my Pinterest boards that says my superpower is red hair. And I love it. It's just the greatest thing ever. So maybe I'll have to make like ginger power activate.
I buy it. I totally buy into that.
I buy that. Those gingers, they do steal your souls, you know. I have this great story I love to tell people. This is so off topic. I'm sorry if I'm like derailing us. It's this.
We're
so
the ever rails on
I know. I'm about to derailing us. So I was hanging out. This was last summer. I was hanging out in this place in Atlanta called Little 5 Points. This is a very hipster neighborhood. Everybody's got pink hair, and you know, this is where your vape shops are and that kind of stuff. So I was down in Little 5 Points hanging out, eating my slice of pizza like you do by yourself. And I'm like doing my thing, and this guy walks up to me, and he just simply taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "Ma'am, I have something for you." And he hands me this book, you guys. And I'm not gonna lie to you when I say this book's like this big. Like it is like the smallest handbound book I've ever seen. And he had just like stapled it, and it was a poetry book that he had written, but the title was Red-Haired Women Eat Their Children. He was handing them out to all the women that had red hair in this like plaza. Like he was just going straight to all the red-haired women and handing them this book. And it was a series of like poetry talking, I guess, about this red-haired woman he had fallen in love with and how she like completely broke his heart. And actually the poetry was really beautiful, and he had like photocopied pages and stuff. But I just thought it was hysterical that he was like pinpointing women and handing this book out that was like red-haired women eat their children.
I'd be like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, it was like so strange. Like it was this strange. It was so strange.
That's about a Tuesday at Little 5 Points, though.
Yeah, it is. That is a Tuesday at Little 5 Points.
I was like Little 5 Points in the 90s, man.
Yeah, I live right around the corner from Little 5 Points, so like I'm all about that like neighborhood. You know, that's where like you get your tats and stuff like that. But in the 90s, I can only imagine Little 5 Points is just like, oh, it would have been sketchy.
I love quirky places.
Central.
I've got no idea what Little 5 Points is.
It's, I mean, it would be, I don't know what the equivalent in London. I mean, it's just sort of like the little Bohemian district.
It's like Canterbury.
So it's like Bohemian, Southern Bohemian.
So
Got it.
You know, it's like I mean, in my day, it was like where all the old record stores were.
Yeah. So it's there. Yeah.
It's like Brighton.
Camden.
It's like Brighton. Yeah, it's Camden, Brighton, and Canterbury all mixed into one. Yeah.
Yep. It's where all the hipsters hang, or all the homeless people hang. So that's basically
Camden.
So anyways, he walked around.
Homeless people, you know.
Yeah, I go down there and like I do. There's this cool like artsy thing that happens on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So I try once a month to like volunteer.
Coffee shops.
Yeah, coffee shops. There's a couple theaters down there and a bunch of music venues and dive bars and stuff like that. So anyways, anybody that's ever been to Atlanta, you might want to visit Little 5 Points. It's like well known.
Just not after dark.
It's not after dark. Not after dark. But I don't know how I managed to get. Oh yeah, red-haired women. So anyways, I have this book. It's stored away because I just love it so much. And he is so angry at whatever red-haired woman broke his heart through this like series of poetry. But I do quite enjoy the front cover. So anyways, I don't know how we got on that tangent. Maybe one day I'll read Red-Haired Women Eat Their Children live on stream. Maybe we'll make that
That's a podcast right there.
I'll read his
that I will win for.
I'm in. I'm
yeah,
there.
like we do like a react thing, like as Chelsea reads it, where we'll just
I was gonna say we'll just make faces.
Yeah.
All of us will be muted and just be like,
just shock horror.
Guys. Oh, I didn't know you lived in Doraville, Prax. That's kind of afar, but at least from where I'm at. But cool, I didn't know you lived that close. And I didn't know you lived in Sandy Springs. That's where I worked, Tall.
Well, back in the day when I was, my family were in Sandy Springs while I was going to tech. So.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Not now, but no, back in the day. And my sister is up there now as well. She lives inside the perimeter.
Well, that's good because I don't go OTP, which is outside the perimeter.
Outside the perimeter, yeah.
I'm an ITP lady. Like if it's OTP, ain't worth it. Except for the gaming store. I'm working on that. Chelsea may be opening her own gaming store in ITP.
Dude.
Because we don't have one.
I was gonna say you need investors.
I actually do.
You're right. Atlanta does not have a good gaming store. They did it in the '90s, and they probably still don't now.
The best gaming store we have right now, that's an actual gaming store, is Gigabytes. But I got to drive 45 minutes to get there.
We don't have gaming store like we have. We found one
in the country. Go to London, an hour's drive. There's loads, but out here, and to be honest, there wouldn't be the market for it either.
I was about to say you don't have the market, but Atlanta sure does. Like, I think a lot about the Georgia State and the tech.
I was gonna say if you put it down there so it was easy access between tech and state, you would.
Yep, that's my goal. I've actually already started talking with one of the local municipalities that deals in giving property and stuff to small businesses here in Atlanta. Oh yeah, I was serious. Like the other day, I hit a point where I was like, I'm not working for anybody anymore. You know? I hit that point. I was like, I can't work for anybody anymore. So I started making a business plan. So I'm starting to pitch the ideas. So as I get myself,
it would be so awesome, and you could definitely do it for sure. I mean, I'm not being funny. I know I don't live over there, but if I moved over there, I'd probably just move in to the shop, just drink coffee and play D&D.
I have this secret wish over time to actually put a small studio in the back of it, where where I could maybe get some visas and things, and have some cool people that can't get themselves inside the country have an actual studio to begin
doing things.
Yeah. So, look at all these people that want to invest. Well, she needs to get her damn business plan together.
Hey, I invested in the Cloak and Blaster. It's the best investment I ever made. So
really, okay,
oh yeah,
that's good.
Here in Orlando, the gaming pub is owned by some of my friends who, in their 20s, were just like, we're not working for people anymore. He was laid off by NASA. And they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, and they were like, "We're going to follow the dream," and they did. And oh my God, it's gangbusters. They were there before gaming became what it is. Because they're coming up on their 4th year anniversary, so it was just right before 5th edition came out, and and they do all the games. They've got upstairs, which is like video games. And then downstairs, which is big, huge tabletop gaming and craft beer.
I hate that that's not a big thing where we are, because we just got there's no interest, there's nothing, and I struggle. I really struggle.
We're sorting that out soon. It was really cool going to London. Was it last week or the week before? It was the week before.
It was the day before my birth.
Yeah, it was the week before. We went down to London because Satine and Rooty Root were in London.
Oh right. How was that?
It was amazing. They're the nicest people. Satine is genuinely just so nice and
real,
friendly and real, and Rudy too. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him so much. He was more interviewing and stuff, but he was really cool. And but aside from that, we were in a pub that was just full of sofas and video games.
Board games,
gaming tables, and we were just like, this is where we need to be.
Yeah,
always,
because we just don't get anything like that, and it makes me sad that we don't. So I
did see a funny thing though, where a guy was playing Street Fighter, and he'd put between rounds, he'd gone to take a sip of his drink, and the round was coming back on, so he put his pint down but missed the table, and and then the match started, and he had this dilemma of his pints going everywhere, but he's playing the game and he doesn't know which one to
priority to go for. Yeah
Man, well, I guess Potato, I heard you say that the interest isn't there. I actually think it is. I think more now people love games. We love them. And I think, tabletop, as Paul was saying, I don't want it to just be tabletop. I have a friend who has one of the largest board game libraries in the country. And I was like, let me rent it from you. House it at my store, and let's have an open library where you can rent games for the day, just like you would at a con.
That's what Cloak and Blaster does. They have free games. They and then they have they have premium games that you can rent. So just all the sort of normal stuff that you would have, that most people just have at home, so you don't have to bring your own set. They've got there, which are free with, when you basically are at the restaurant, if you theoretically you don't have to buy anything, but let's face it, if you're there at that point, they assume you're going to buy something. There's a cat.
And
then,
mine just brings me frogs. You get cuddles
that you can do. And no, it's so amazing. Well, this is your first time at Gen Con, right?
This will be my first time at Gen Con.
So you'll see how they do it at Lucasfield, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is they basically pretty much every gaming company who's there bring multiple sets of their game and put it in the gaming library at Lucasfield. And like for them, it's, I mean, because it's a con, they can do it for this cheap, but it's, $8 for 8 hours. And that comes with, and you can rent any of the games in the entire library. And it's just big banquet tables and you sit around and game. Yes, that is good. By the way, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take you by the arm and we're just going to go over and.
This is fine.
This is fine.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with this.
I've only seen one place that Scrat and I went. We visited our friend in Bristol, and there is
that was
a
really
cafe.
cool as well. And
There's it
was tiny as well. I was going to speak about this as well. It was tiny. So they only had like maybe 8 tables where people could come and game, but they
have to book because of how
you have to
popular
book and rent out the table because it's like this only gaming place in Bristol. And I think they probably started off small, but at the moment it's like 150 pounds a table, and like between 5 or 6 people, that's not so much. But people literally book it out all day, every day.
I was going to say they book it out for the day. It's not like limited or anything like that. The thing is, there's so many tabletop RPGs that I haven't tried yet, and I am so desperate to try. And I just it's a matter of getting a hold of them. I've said it before. I really want to play Numenera. I am desperate to play it, and I'm so eager.
Hold that thought. Just hold that thought.
Okay. It's funny. I was actually talking about Numenera last night and how bad I want to, because it's just Cypher, right? It's just kind of the sci-fi.
It's just Cypher.
It's like the sci-fi.
Yeah,
which is why I really want to run a campaign with it or just be in it. I just want to play it. I don't care how.
That's how I feel about City of Mist right now. I'm like, I just want to play it.
Yeah.
I just want to play it. Somebody let me play.
This is the thing. I'm so excited for my character in City of Mist as well. Like I need to play it so badly. I can't. Especially this is the problem. I get more and more obsessed with it, especially because I'm not running my own campaign right now. I'm already like, give it to me.
I've never been one of them people that like makes characters they're never gonna play in like D&D or Warhammer or anything like that. City of Mist is the first time I've created like 20 characters.
Really?
Like literally, like every time I get a new mythos in my head, I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to have a character that plays this. Well, I mean, it won't hurt to just write out the character sheet, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I am so very excited. Even if it means, what time do we start in the morning?
Well, if we do the 8 p.m. game, we'll be starting at 1 a.m. for us.
1 a.m.
So
my mum is adorable because for the first 2 sessions, I'll be living back at my parents because I've got loads of work down south and there's no point constantly driving back and forth. And my mum is so excited, to make pretty backdrops for like when I'm like, she's like, oh, we've got like what's it called, the dresser, which she's going to adorn, which is already adorned in teacups and like very British, and she's threaded fairy lights all the way through it. So she's like, that's a nice one for you, and she's bought already like coffee in and stuff like that. This will keep you awake. Whilst I love my mum. She's already thinking of backdrops.
So British of you. You guys are just so, like I say, you're like the 2 loveliest people on the. I want to hug you guys.
I know, both of you so cute. Yeah, that's actually cool, Earthen Lady. I've done that before too, where I just have like this pocket of characters, and because I play D&D, most of them start out as D&D characters, but it's cool to be able to just have like this giant folder of characters that you could really convert depending on the game. It's a cool idea.
I have a character that I haven't done any stats for, nothing at all, so that I really want to play her, but I'm waiting for the right like one shot or campaign or whatever, so I've not put her into any stats, no D&D, no Cypher, no nothing, just so that I can see, because I think she's pretty adaptable to all of them. So I wouldn't say I've created the character, but I kind of have at the same time. So I don't know. Yeah. I still need to create the City of Mist one, but
this is the thing, like, so like I always have like, so today I've got let's see, in BFF I don't need to make a character, in the session I'm playing I don't need to make a character, and Greg's kindly volunteered to make a character for me in the first game, so I still had 5 characters left to make, and yesterday I was like, okay, I've got an hour. I don't have a bank of like D&D characters because I just don't build them. So
You
like,
need it.
so like literally, I've like this morning I was just like, right, let's roll some stats. That looks like a barbarian. They'll be Scottish.
Is that the one for mine? Is that the one for mine?
I don't think so. I think I went for an orc for yours who has 3 intelligence, so I'm not sure if he can talk.
Wow.
Just grunts.
Talk
Roll
about- I was gonna say,
the
talk
three.
about
Wow,
adults.
that's tough to roll the 3. That's
I know.
4.
I am
that's
actually
4 ones.
Worse,
Incredibly
I rolled a 5, and if you go for the like pure orc character, it's -2 intelligence.
Oh, right.
So you could actually have 1 intelligence theoretically if you rolled an orc.
Do you just grunt at people? What, like?
I'll figure out a way of communicating.
Okay.
Ooh, what was your bear's thing?
Borar!
To be fair, that's probably going to work very well in my one shot because I think everyone else is very intelligent. They're bards and everything and stuff like that. So it would be a nice
That's an
contrast.
idea. Do I change it from Berserker Barbarian to Totem of the Bear Barbarian?
Just erupt as yeah. Could do.
I'm just gonna grab a glass. I'll be back in a moment.
Oh yeah, man.
The one thing I am looking forward to in City of Mist as well is that I'm gonna have a real mic because my brother works in the music and sound industry. So he's like, "Oh, it's fine. Like, here, use all of my mics." I was like, "Ah." So
That's
he's gonna set
killer.
me up at
I
his
know, it's
like all his
Yeah.
screens, all of his mics, everything. I was like, I get to use a real one. So, yeah, so I'm just glad people are going to be able to hear me properly because this one like fades in and out every now and then and sort of goes like our kettle on the blink. So I am very excited about that one.
That's gonna be cool. Yeah, like I
Sorry,
said,
yeah.
I've got to get my character put in there and that type of thing. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about with you guys. So, I had a giant combat to run, and it was my party up. They had been half of them been captured and they escaped, and then they wanted to go back and get their stuff because that's what you do. And also, murder hobo these people who had, crossed them, which actually story-wise is what needed to happen. But it was all about, they had enlisted 6 orcs. They had a Horn of Valhalla, which summons 3d4 plus 3 berserkers. They had their Cloak of Useful Items, which would can summon 2 war ostriches. There were 16 bandits and the party, and we were going into combat. And it was like, that would end up being me running like 30 some odd NPCs, and then the party, doing combat. It was like, okay, that's going to take like 3 weeks for us to like run this combat. And in the grand scheme of the story, other than they needed to die and they needed to get their equipment back, it was not really it wasn't like, what the story was about. It was anything a side quest type idea. So I had to come up, I wanted to come up with a system, especially for streaming, of a way to not have to run some 30 odd NPCs and them with that. And, I thought about doing, I'll do it as groups and that sort of stuff, but I still was just like, that's still going to just take forever to run through initiative for all these. So one of the things that I did, and it worked really well, and I think, I'm not sure if Chelsea, it might have been, we talked about this in Learn by Play.
Yeah.
So I did use using D100s, and I was worried that D100s sometimes to me are often kind of like a letdown. It worked so well.
Good.
Just doing, okay, you guys, we're gonna walk through what your plan is, and if all goes well, how is your plan going to unfold? And it was like, okay, we're gonna set up here, then we're going to get into position, and then we're gonna drive these people into sort of the ambush, and then the ambush is going to happen, and then it's going to 3-phase battle. And we just use D100s for here's how this phase of the battle goes. And depending on how it went, it would be either they got to go first or the party got to go first. And it wasn't even that each player rolled attacks. It was just sort of like, what are you doing? And the only thing I would have done differently, because in roll 20, I just did the, hit the D100 button.
Yeah.
I should have whispered the adversary's roll, because they already knew whether they had won or what won or lost that next part of it. However, I would also say, again, it was, I've got a great group who, when they knew that they had already, that they were, not going, it wasn't going to go quite in their favor, they played into and told the story of why it didn't go in their favor.
Yeah.
So that's, if you've got the party who can do that, it makes it, that makes it nice too, because they went ahead and already built into their moves the why it didn't quite go the right way. So it wasn't me having to make up everything along the ways, but it actually worked out pretty well. And we got it all done in basically an hour and a half through the giant battle. And so but I was worried it wasn't gonna be exciting, but man, my they rolled like a 78 or something, and they were like, oh, we got him. And then me and the bandits rolled like a 90. And they were just like, no! Like a big moment of it. And so they thought they had it, slam dunked, and then back. But it was cool. It was very cool.
I might have to try that, because I struggle with large combat. See, like, again, it's a numbers thing for me, keeping track of everything and like health of people and stuff like that. The person who I'm learning a lot from, Cass's Creations, has mentioned it in chat, and that is Jim, as in WebDM Jim. And that from Warhammer, being in that game, and there's a lot of combat, but I don't feel like I'm in combat. Obviously I'm rolling dice, I'm doing numbers, but is so much role play in it at the same time that it doesn't quite, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm trying to like learn from that as well, because it's, you basically roll a d10 is what you do. So he just keeps it moving, and that's something I'm trying to do, because I find when I do combat, sometimes I get stuck. But I think just watch other people do it and see. So
well, and there are a lot of different things. The more RPG systems I play, the more I find that there are different mechanisms from each one that I like to bring to my games. One of the ones that I'm trying to start using, because our players, we tend to get meta when we start like planning heists, or we start like trying to plan a big battle like that, and it kind of, in my opinion, ruins the storytelling aspect if you do too much planning, or we get too meta in our planning at the table. And I really like that to be done realistically. And there's a game system that I got to play called Wilderness of Mirrors, which is all about basically a CIA operative group that you play. And the game is actually about you setting the heist up, but you have to do it role playing. And what the DM does in the game is takes tally of the actions you want to take. And they give you like a point system for every major action in your plan. And then those points can be used as you actually try to attempt the heist, which is cool. So I love this idea. I'm trying to start doing things like that if they're planning and they're doing it via role play, everybody gets an inspiration point. Or I make note of very specific things in this big battle. Like I'm sure, no doubt, Tall, that they planned a bajillion things for you guys, for them to do, like so-and-so is going to take over here, so-and-so is going to take those things. So I usually make notes of those. And if they actually take the action that they plan for, and especially do it successfly, there are benefits to doing that. This fate system, this fate of Cthulhu, it's all about time travel and this timeline. And I think it's really interesting too, because, and I'm going to start using some things from it, which is, as one action takes place, it changes the future of like other actions. And at the end of the game, the win condition, if you would, is that, of course, we can't stop Cthulhu from rising, but we definitely can change the certain events that lead to the rise in hopes of like lightening the burden. So you get to do that together. There's like a check system. So Cthulhu gets checks throughout the timeline of like, did you benefit him, or did the resistance benefit, right? And then at the end, you trade your check boxes in, and the resistance group, meaning the players, get to tell you what happens that they fix. And if Cthulhu has boxes, then the storyteller gets to say, well, it's great that you did this, but you also happened to do this. So that's another thing too. I think, we started out this morning, I feel like, and come full circle in this idea that sometimes you have to build your own mini systems inside larger systems to fit your game, like Tall did with his combat. And in this case, some of these things can be used for large scale combat. I think combat is, big ones are meant to be like scenic. Does that make sense? Like if you think about a movie,
cinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be super cinematic. If you think about movies and we think about some of the greatest fights we've ever seen, like we'll take Princess Bride, right? The rapier scene where the two of them fight. It's very one-on-one, which is what we seem to do a lot in Dungeons and Dragons because, like Alice was saying, sometimes it gets extreme when you have 6 or 7, or in Tall's case, like 34 NPCs to play, right? But if it's a one-on-one combat, there's that opportunity for the normal D&D mechanism. But when you start to get, and who doesn't want to have giant field battles? It's why we love Lord of the Rings. You know, we all want that. We want those giant field battles, but D&D doesn't have a mechanism per se inside of a book for that. So you have to kind of make up your own system and figure out what works at the table for your characters.
Yep. Well, one of the things that I did, I mean, and this was just again, if you're going into cinematic battle, don't necessarily even force a character that would normally you would have them roll for something to actually roll. I had my high elf rogue with a cloak of elven kind on a foggy night. She's an assassin, basically off on her own to go and pick people off. It was a roll me a perception check and tell me how you kill this person.
Yeah.
If you just, she is a trained assassin in the fog, in a surprise attack with a lot of stuff going on, with a cloak of elven kind, which gives her bonuses to her stealth. Don't even roll the attack. Just tell me, you find one person, you find the commander, you find one of the magic users. Mm-hmm. Tell me how you do this. This is what you were trained to do.
Right.
Yeah. I don't need you to accidentally roll a nat 1 and mess up this, because as a trained assassin, you would wait for the absolute right time to go.
Definitely.
The plan depends on you doing this.
So I really like the cipher system and I guess Numenera as well, for that whole when something becomes so easy, it's just an auto success.
Yep.
Yes, this should be an auto success. You've been trained for it.
I guess it makes you feel more attached to the character and what they can do as well, so you feel more confident in your own character and feel like you're actually playing, rather than if you're like you said, if you're like a high-end assassin and then you nat 1 and you're like, oh, but I wouldn't have done because I know all the steps to make sure I don't miss.
That doesn't happen. Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been really trying to work on as a DM as well recently is I'm trying to get out of the habit of making people take perception or investigation checks without them suggesting that they are looking for something. Like when you go, oh, you walk into a room and you're thinking, there's something in here that they might not see. So can you all make me a perception check? I'm trying to stop doing that, so that people have more of that agency.
Make something feel mysterious about the room so they go, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
What do I need to be looking for?
I need to look for something. Yeah.
Well, and I think, too, we always forget everybody has passive perception. So I think the moment as a DM where you're asking people to roll for perception, what you're really asking for is passive perception. Yeah. You walk in a room, what do you see? Just being who you are. If you're blind, well, you don't have a passive perception except for maybe your sense of smell or hearing, but you don't have to ask them to roll. I think you're right, Scrat, that there's this idea of like, if you want to search for it, I read an article about this that was like, let your characters or your players have agency. And if they don't ask to roll for perception or want to search for something, don't prompt them as a DM. Give them, like Alice said, enough interesting description on the room that they want to search for more versus prompting them into it.
Well, and I would tell you, one of the real things I love about the new D&D Beyond character sheet is passive insight.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's not something I have even, of course there's passive insight, but it never really is something, because it's just never been on a sheet I never think about. And now it's something, it's like, when they're talking to this person, they do have a certain level of passive insight of whether they're telling the truth or lying or are sketchy or are forthright and whatever. And it was just nothing that I ever really used. I love the idea of passive insight.
Yeah.
Because when you're like talking to a person, you're going to be watching their mannerisms, how they move, if they do anything out of the ordinary, and that is a passive insight. But we all that.
We all personally. It's those. It's that. That guy that it's why you feel sketchy about the car salesman or whatever.
Right.
I mean, everyone has some level of passive insight without really thinking about actively thinking about their motivations.
It's in their nature
I was
to
going to say,
You're
it's called
yeah.
instinct.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
It's
going
called
to say it's
instinct.
human nature to go, I think you're lying.
I Am Madama's got an interesting one in there. It says in Pathfinder there's a take 10 mechanic, where if you're not under duress, you can just take a 10 on your ability check.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, and it's a very easy thing when I remember when Pathfinder came out, it was really easy to adapt out to 3.5. I think a lot of people did that. And that's what I did because I was still playing in 3.5. So I took that mechanic when I was still deep into all the 3.5 realm, because I think you're right. It's such an easy thing. And two, I think with D&D, we talked about character creation earlier, and asking the right questions. One of the things that I like to do is ask them, why are you an adventurer? The D&D book, the player's handbook, 5, asks that. Like if you read from front cover to back, one of the things they talk about is like, you're not just waking up one day and going on adventure, unless that's really the story you're wanting to tell. Why and how did this character get here? And as you build around that concept of like, what makes you an adventurer? Why are you wanting to fight for good? Why are you are you just in it for the gold? What is your end goal? It's easy to say, to use the take 10 system on that and say, well, you're wanting to be an assassin or you're wanting to be a rogue. Well, then I would say you can always take 10 as long as, you're not being attacked or something like that.
Right.
I've used that a lot in the past, and it can be based a lot onto the individual character. So maybe you can't use take 10 on all your skills, but if you're a rogue, you can definitely use it on stealth.
Yeah,
Right.
Definitely use it on deception. So there are other like small rules, table rules, if you would, homebrew rules that you could add to your table to really add to that and move gameplay along.
Awesome. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, we've got about 9 minutes until our next game. I know, time's fly. Talking with you guys, you know what? It's just like
It's my favourite bit.
I genuinely feel like we've almost met up in a coffee shop in the morning and we've just been chatting with friends.
Yeah.
This has been,
I
like
this has
that.
been great.
I love that.
So, I'm gonna go and take a bio and start getting ready for the next stream. If you guys would like to, just talk about the things that you've got coming up, and obviously we've got the Vice tomorrow, Jay, and Chelsea, we've got the Fate stuff. Tell us all about that. Post your links. Promote yourselves. Alice, you have the con. Headmistress Alice is
Take over.
While Dumbledore's away.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll be back shortly.
Okay, ma'am. Well, you want to start, Alice, and show us how it's done?
Okay. Well, it's not. Well.
I was gonna say,
okay.
Alice is gonna be here keeping these scrap alarms all day.
I'm suddenly incredibly awkward. No, we've got quite a lot coming up. Obviously, we've got the Academy all day today. I am DMing 1 p.m. EST in a slightly darker world where some mysterious attacks have been happening on a little village, and they're not too sure what these creatures are that are coming out of the forest. But we've got this for 24 hours. So once my DMing's done, my cause for the day is keeping Scrat alive through hours of D&D, because it is extreme, but it's for a good cause,
Yes.
which is why we're doing it. On Monday, I am running a one-shot based on Jumanji. We're returning to the same group as before. And then the week after that, hang on, I'm trying to think. Is that when City of Mist starts? That's when we do...
Monday.
We're starting our City of Mist campaign, which is 8 p.m. EST, which is 1 a.m. for us, which will be great. But yeah. Do you want to go, Chelsea? Here you go. Promote. I'm going to put my Twitter in this thing. So
hey gang, I'm Chelsea, Little Red Dot. You can find me online under Little Red Dot. I play a lot of tabletop RPG. I GM a lot of tabletop RPG, and I'm trying over the last few months to really expand the different systems. So I'm trying to bring a lot of that to my channel. So you can follow me on Twitter if you want to get my schedule and my Discord link, or you can follow me over on Twitch, where I'm starting to do some streaming on my channel. One of which, of course, is right now. Over the next 2 weeks, I'll be running and beta testing actually the new Fate core system for Fate of Cthulhu using the Fate core system, which is just a build out basically using, of course, like Lovecraftian lore. So I've been approved for the beta test. It's pretty cool. It's not like your average Call of Cthulhu game where you're kind of fighting the old one or fighting living in a realm where they've risen. Instead, that's done. Humanity's doomed. And this is more Terminator style, where we're sending kind of operatives or resistance back in time 10 years to try to stop events from taking place. That that cause Cthulhu to rise, which is really cool. So yeah, we started the game off last night, literally my first time ever playing Fate. We had a great time. So you can catch all of that. We'll be again next Friday. Scrat will actually be joining us for that game. And then I have, that's the Cthulhu timeline. I'm also running a King in Yellow timeline that starts Wednesday of next week and will be a 2-part mini campaign as well. So hopefully once I give them feedback and they got all their stuff together and they actually launched the book, I might actually run a campaign because it is just a killer, awesome, good time. Like we just had a really cool time with it. So yeah, so I'm doing more of that. If you are around the con, you can see me at Gen Con. You can see me at Dragon Con this year. I'm sitting on a few panels for DCon. I was officially approved, so I'll be doing a live playtest of the new Princess Bride RPG, which is pretty cool. So I'll be doing that at Dragon Con this year. I'll be sitting on a panel for Beginners Dungeons and Dragons. And then, of course, my podcast that I help produce, North by Northquest. We're going to be doing a live show, actually, playing against the other Atlanta podcast, Loot and Dagger. We're doing a Capture the Flag D&D game. And if you know Rim Far, he's going to be coming up and DMing that game for us live at Dragon Con. So some fun things. My plan at Gen Con is just to show up for the first time. I've never been. And then I'm going to let people like Tall drag me to play games and things. Like I decided not to like fill my schedule. So I'll be around lots and lots of fun stuff. Oh, cool. Yeah, Prax. I'll see you at Dragon Con then.
I really want to go to Gen Con. That's one of the things that we both want to do. Like,
yeah,
that and I still
y'all should just go ahead and start planning on it for next year.
Yeah.
Hey,
like,
I'll tell you, if you plan far enough in advance, Alice, I actually got a really good deal on a room. And it's it's about a mile walk to the convention center. It's like not part of the convention center, but like we actually got our hotel, parking, the whole 9, continental breakfast, and like we got a really good deal with 4 people in a room.
Well, like it's like around our anniversary every year, so we might just use that as an excuse. Like, go to Gen Con and do
I
that.
see this. Yeah.
And
see that
spend
could
your
work.
anniversary with all us crazy gaming people. It'll be awesome.
Like why not?
But yeah, no, that is one of the tricks is as early as like December, January, February, and start looking because I assume you're up at the circle, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, we're up at the whatever the court that we're like the courthouses and stuff.
Yeah, where the big statue is.
The backstage. Yeah, I've never
and
been.
That is not a bad walk. It is. I mean, it's again, it's like a mile. At, Gen Con. I mean, it's still a big city. You don't want to be at 2 a.m. walking down the street. But as far as during the actual convention and sort of normal hours, and certainly Ubering to the back and forth, they've got those running all the time. Mm-hmm. But no, Indianapolis certainly during Gen Con, lots of pedestrians, lots of people around, so you don't have to worry about having to like that you're walking downtown. But that's again the trick is, and it's just when people start releasing games. And then of course there's always the there's always the lottery too, which is
right
Hunger Games of housing.
See, and I don't have the time or energy for that. So, speaking of time and energy, I'm also going to be doing a game for Scrat's 24-hour. I guess I should.
Yes, you are.
So, I'm literally here to help him start this thing with this Q&A, and I will be playing the very last game. So, literally 24 hours from now. 4 a.m. So 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I guess 9 a.m.
So I've just seen Scrat's outfit for the next thing.
Oh God, I can
Is
only
that your wedding tie? Yeah.
Trouble.
Wedding jacket. Is that your wedding tie? Did you hear that, Saz?
No, that's not a problem. I'm just trying to work out
where this is all come from.
Yeah, they're my sunglasses as well. I lose so many of my clothes. To Scrat. Like the dress up.
We've already seen the fact that Scrat is the diva of the relationship.
He really like. I'm more the. I just want to chill out. I don't. He's the one who spends the most on shoes. Like just anything. He loves really.
We're hearing that Scrat's high maintenance. Is that? I think that's what I'm hearing. Is that what I'm hearing? Scrat's high maintenance? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, he's the flower. She's the gardener.
Yeah. It's so sad. Like. My posh flip-flops that I breaking the other day, I'm like, I should probably buy some more.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And he's like, can I wear my sassy brogues to this place? I'm like, yeah, just do it. Like, everyone's come to expect
so
it now. Well, I'm waiting for him to sit down to see what.
So funny.
I think he's looking for my headphones right now. My little, he can't wear it because of the hat. But yeah, I didn't know there was a Princess Bride RPG.
So it's still in test mode, and I think what they're doing is they're testing it at conventions before they release.
Scrat's
it.
never
so
seen
smart.
it. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've been over this before. He needs to sit down and watch it because he's never seen Princess Bride. So
I know, right?
yeah, like I make jokes. You need to see it. Okay.
Scrat! I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, Chelsea's shouting at you. But like,
Now, chat.
I always made like little jokes and quotes from it, and he was just like, "Huh," and I'm like, "You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?"
Yeah.
What?
I picked up a sword and learned to sword play because of that movie. Their rapier fight inspired me to go learn Spanish rapier. I was like,
my friend did exactly the same because of that, and my other friend learnt it so much. You know, the film Aragon and stuff like that. He was the guy who taught them how to do sword play and using the staff.
Oh yeah, he was like their fight choreographer.
Yeah, purely from watching Princess. But here he comes. I see a hand.
I see a hand.
Speaking of princesses, where's our
Oh, look at this.
No. You look like, what do you look like? You look like you look like the man on the side of the peanut can. Or you need a monocle.
I'm getting through that. He's got that little like out of time weird vampire look going on.
It's the Monopoly guy. So
yeah, I feel like you're trying to con me into buying a used car.
Yeah, like a proper con man. You know, the one in True Lies that's really sleazy. I don't know if you guys have seen True Lies.
Oh yeah.
That guy. That's
oh man.
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
I don't dare ask. I'm not gonna ask. Well, gang. Yeah. So that's me.
Yeah, TallSquall.
We got way off. Yeah.
TallSquall. I'm TallSquall. You can find me all over the interwebs as TallSquall. If you go to my Twitter, it has a pinned tweet which takes you everywhere. I am on the Midgard campaign over on Encounter Roleplay, which is tons of fun. I also play in Josh's Long March. You can find me DMing my own campaign, The Vice, which is 2:00 today. If you all want to turn in, I know you'll be hanging out with Scrat. We'll certainly be raiding when we are done to go and hang out with him. But we run for charity as well. And so come check us out. We've got lots of fun things happening. We are finally, after it seems like years of hype, making it to the capital city today. Even if I have to pick up the party and just throw them there, there today.
You will go.
Yes.
What time is that running?
Don't make me fast travel you, because I will fast travel you so fast. And, no, it's going to be pretty fun and amazing, and I'm looking forward to it. And so join us for that. We're a few cast members short today because of the holiday, but we've got fun things happening to the rest of the cast while the others are away. And I know that Scrat's got a schedule to keep here, so I will.
What time is the Vice? What time is
the Vice? Is at 2:00 Eastern, so that's 7 p.m.
Damn, that's when I'm DMing. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I think it's right on top of. I noticed that, Alice. But we'll probably be rating either yours or whoever's right after you.
I think that's Kiana after me.
Kiana,
I think,
right.
Yeah. So anyway, Scrat is trying to run an academy here, and
we're all like,
it's I was gonna say that.
And basically, we're the worst students around.
The bell has already get to class. Hanging out by our lockers in the hallway, and so I will turn it back to Headmaster Scrat.
Right, well, guys, thank you very much for this chat this morning. I know the guys for the next stream have already set up the Zoom, so I'm going to go do the setup. We'll have a short intermission for some music. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. Chelsea, we'll see you in around 24 hours. Yeah.
Well, 21 hours to be
21,
exact, because I close out. 21 hours.
Yeah, go sleep.
And
I'm gonna do that.
Look forward to your raid. We'll see you later on, buddy.
Later, that's fine. Good luck. Best of luck today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Catch you guys later. Bye. Transition over here. Play some music. There we go. Guys, I'll be right back.